Now, let me tell you what this is symbolic. We set it up just this way. The reason that we are here this evening to talk about Joe versus the volcano. And so what I wanted you to do was to really experience this. Now, what is it when you're near a volcano that's boiling over and about to explode? What is it that you feel that lets you know you are in the area of a volcano? What is it you feel? Oh, I know. You feel heat, right? So you're going to experience this volcano because we have things in our lives, ladies and gentlemen. And because we don't handle them, because we don't deal with those things, they begin to get kind of hot. You've heard the expression, boy, I'm in hot water. And that means that there's something that you're in, that some dilemma that you've got to handle, something that you've got to deal with. So let's begin to look at this guy called Joe versus the volcano, and let's see what's in it for us. I took the liberty of changing some things to enable them to be symbolic for us. And Tom Hanks plays this role. And for those of you that have not seen the movie, it's about a guy who was going to work every day. It was very depressing. I mean, when you see it, the photography is very dingy looking and gray and very dim lighting. And the people are going in looking drab, doing the same old thing every day in the same old way. Some of you work with people like that. There are faces that you wish you never ever saw. Am I right? If you never saw them again, it would be too soon. Am I right? Of course, right. So this is what was going on. This guy was going into this job where it was a dead-end job. He wasn't happy. He was miserable. And many of us can identify with that. He knew that he was capable of doing more, but he had really given up on himself. He had really sold himself out. Yeah, some of us have done that. He made a trade-off. For whatever reason, he decided to do this. This is why we can identify with. And the volcano is symbolic of the challenges that we invariably face in life, the problems that many of us run away from handling. And he had to handle this. And how did he come in contact with this volcano? Well, what happened was he was going to this doctor constantly. He was a hypochondriac because he wasn't living his purpose. His dream had not found his life work. He would create illnesses for himself. And so what happened in the process, this doctor decided, he set him up really. See, when you're not living your goal, you go through life living like a victim. People can set you up for anything. They can run any kind of game on you and you go for it. I had a saying when I was in radio, stand up for what you believe in because you can fall for anything. Well, Joe didn't believe in very much, including himself and his dreams, see? So he was very vulnerable. And so Joe was set up by this doctor. This doctor told him that he had a rare disease and he had 6 months to live. This disease was called a brain cloud. Oh, Kadumbo Joe went for it. He believed it. But you know something? It changed his life. It changed his life. And so he was told, look here, you don't have long to live anyhow. The guy said, why don't you do this? I'm going to give you all my credit cards, and this way you can live like a king, and there's something I want you to do. There was a catch. There's a volcano on an island that's about to erupt. And unless somebody jumps in that volcano, sacrifice their life, these people on this island will perish. Well, your life isn't worth much if you don't have that long anyhow. So why don't you take my credit cards, all my American Express, MasterCharge, take all of them, go live like a king and die like a man. And Joe said, okay. What did he have to lose? He was going to die anyhow. And his life didn't have any meaning and value to him as it was. So this was no big sacrifice on Joe's behalf. Now that says something about us, people, human beings, that when you have not structured your life so that it can have some meaning and value for you, that you'll be willing to throw your life away into anything. See, the volcano could be alcohol. It could be drugs. It could be a job that does not meet who you are. That you go through life, you're doing it so long, you're operating in this and you're acting out that role of mediocrity for so long, you think it's you. It could be a relationship that's no longer giving you what you want and creating dis-ease in your body. It could be any kind of circumstance, like in his work environment. It was toxic. It wasn't good for him. But he didn't have the guts to do anything about it, to act on it. So therefore, it was making him miserable. And as a result, he couldn't see the beauty of life. In fact, in the movie, see, they had in the concrete, there was a daisy growing up through the concrete. But people were so caught up in the depression and the gloominess of life, they couldn't even see the daisy when somebody just stepped on it one day. They couldn't see the beauty in life. See, that's what can happen to you in life, that you can get so caught up in the misery of it and the pain and the sickness and the depression and playing a victim and blaming everybody and everything rather than taking responsibility. It will blind you from seeing the stuff out there that's really beautiful. That's what Henry David Thoreau meant when he said that most people go through life in quiet desperation. They're miserable. I have friends been married for years, live in 2 different rooms. Why would you live like that? Miserable. Don't even talk to each other. Grumble. I think that was supposed to mean good morning. miserable, just making each other miserable. Why live like that? People go to work like that. I said, why even show? I used to work with a guy like that. You couldn't say good morning to him before 9 o'clock. He'd look around and say, does he know me? Anybody know me? No, you don't talk to me before 9 o'clock. I don't play that, all right? I mean, there are people like, how many ever work with people that are just grumps? Raise your hand, just miserable. Why show up? Come in complaining every day. The best day on the job is when they're absent. Am I right? So this is where Joe was. So this doctor told Joe, hey man, you're going to die with this brain cloud. You know something? All of Joe's other illnesses left. Joe decided to live. Joe decided to live his life. Now that is interesting. A psychiatrist did a study and he was talking about how his patients reacted when they got information that they were going to die immediately. He said that many of these patients that had gone through years of therapy that should have been making decisions about their career or about their marriage or about their circumstances, and somehow or another they were stuck and didn't have the personal power or the wherewithal or the willpower to act in their own best interests. But when they were told, listen, you've got 3 months to live, or you got 6 months to live, all of a sudden these people who were initially victims or powerless, all of a sudden they started acting in their own best interests. They started living their lives. And it's amazing to me that what a paradox, that once people are told they're going to die, all of a sudden they start seeing the daisies in life. They start seeing the beauty in life. I remember it's a monologue and it's called The Last Mile. It's a monologue about a guy who was sentenced to die in the electric chair for a crime that he did not commit. And he was pleading to the jury to understand his case. And I remember one of the parts of the monologue where this guy talking to the jury and talking to himself and going the whole gamut of emotion. And I remember something he said that struck me right now. He said, he said, it's queer, ain't it? How even though life has done you wrong, somehow you still want to live. He said, you never again find me complaining about life has given me a short deal. No, I just want to live. I take the park benches, the crumbs, anything. I just want to live. They're not going to let me, are they? All of a sudden, this guy who before, from Sloats Corner, Indiana, never really cared about life, all of a sudden, now that he knew that his life was going to be taken away for a crime that he did not commit, he wanted to live. It's a very passionate, powerful monologue. I used to read that quite often and study that. So what is it that we can begin to do? Do we have to get a pronouncement that we only have 6 months to live in order to decide to live? In order to live in a spirit of integrity? See, most of us go through life living a lie. The Platters had a song. Oh, yes, I'm the great pretender. What a beautiful voice. Oh, don't faint. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. Whew. Now I hit that note, it just gives me a chill. But anyhow, that many of us go through life being great pretenders. We should get an Academy Award. Pretending that we're happy. Pretending that we're content. Pretending that everything's happy and gay and carried away. And that's not the way that it is. Going through life feeling that we can't do anything about our situation like Joe did. But when they told Joe he was going to die, Joe became a new person. Went back to work, and the young lady he'd been wanting to talk to for a long time, he said, hey, I want to take you out. He wasn't worried about rejection. Joe had his eyes on her. He said, Lord is my shepherd, I'll see what I want. Old Joe said, I might be going, but I ain't dead yet. He wanted a little bit more living. You hear me? I like that, Joe. Don't lose that. Don't lose that.